What is going on, you all? Welcome back to another skate progression video. I actually skipped an official intro today just because I am kind of crunched on time right now. I just got back from Lost Lands, which is a huge music festival, and that took up my entire weekend last weekend, so I didn't get a lot of time to do the editing and voiceovers and everything like I normally do. This is going to be month number 4, the first half. Not a whole lot to see this day. I ended up riding up to Texas Beach Skate Park. Since I was skating after work, I had lower energy. The only thing that I really wanted to focus on was trying to get my kickflip form just a little better. I didn't stay up there that long because I was pretty tired and the skate park started getting crowded. So I ended up calling it a day at that point. And unfortunately, I ended up losing something pretty important that day and I didn't realize it until I got home. I'm pretty bummed out because I'm 99% sure that I lost one of my AirPods. I think I left it on top of my car before I headed out, which really sucks. I just now found my AirPod. So remember how I said I lost it yesterday? I ended up coming back up to the skate park right after work and I'm looking around, can't find it anywhere in the road, nowhere in the parking lot. And then I go to this little bench right where I was at yesterday. It's just sitting on top of this little dirt mound just perfectly. I just sat there and stared at it for a second. I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm looking at this right now. Pick it up, perfect condition, and I just popped it back in the case here. That is crazy. I'm so glad I drove up here. I don't even know what to say about that. That's awesome. And these clips are going to be from the following weekend. I ended up heading up to the Laurel Skate Park. Mainly, I wanted to try some rock and rolls on the mini ramp. So I had gotten them before on a really small ramp, but I wanted to kind of try them out on the mini ramp to see kind of how that would go. I ended up just cruising for a little bit, trying to make sure I got my balance and got warmed up and everything. I ended up cutting most of that out because there's really nothing new to see there. So I just went to different points on the ramp and just kind of tried rolling out of it, sliding out of it, making sure that I was falling on my pads instead of my hip. So that's kind of an underrated, important thing to do. And then I kind of got into the rock and rolls, just getting some attempts behind those, and they just felt really clunky. I think the biggest thing was the speed coming up the other side of the ramp and then trying to shift that weight back over. And the main thing that I think I was doing wrong was just positioning my body too far over the ramp and then trying to whip back around. And I ended up figuring that out in a later part of this video, so I didn't end up getting the rock and roll that day. The main thing that I want to talk about this day was this box slide after I knocked my camera over with my skateboard. Luckily, there was no damage there. And just like the previous days, just kind of ollied onto the box, started getting very slow speed rolling up to it, and just getting the feel for the height and everything before I wanted to put more speed on it. And then I kind of eased into it with more speed, getting a little more balance each time, just getting the feel for the box itself. And again, I'm still brand new to box slides, so any progress was good progress here. And it wouldn't be a proper skate session if I didn't bust my ass at least one time, so got that one out of the way. And then a couple attempts later, ended up nailing that box slide. So then I kind of got the idea that I would progress a lot quicker if I had a box and rails out in my driveway. That way I wouldn't have to drive all the way to a skate park to get a 15 to 20 minute session in. So I ended up finding one on the Facebook Marketplace. The guy ended up dropping it off to my house and everything, threw in a free pair of shoes. So shout out to that guy. So I was finally able to give that box a spin. For whatever reason, mosquitoes love the area of my house and they love attacking me. So I always got to lather up in mosquito spray before I go outside. So after I got my driveway cleaned up, got everything in order, I was finally able to try out the box a little bit. I think the biggest downfall about me skating in my driveway is that there's a bunch of really tall trees overhead, and ironically, as I was recording this, one of the branches ended up falling. So that was pretty sketchy because that branch was actually big enough to do some damage, and the height that it's at wouldn't have been very fun to get hit by. But I kind of figured, what are the odds of that happening twice and one actually hit me? So I went back to it. I figured out that the box was too sticky to ended up grinding on, so then I ended up trying to ollie onto it and roll off of it, which I ended up getting. So I ended up chalking up that day as a win. So then a couple days after that, I did what any smart skater would do and covered the box in some weather-resistant paint. I figured since I don't have a carport or a garage or anything like that, it'd be worth putting some weather sealant on it just so that the weather doesn't eat it up quicker than what it should. And it actually turned out pretty good. And then that same week, I was wanting to try out this new skate park next to my work. So I packed up my bags and everything, got excited. And of course, the radar was not looking that great. It was a pretty rainy morning and the afternoon outlook was not looking much better. Fortunately, it all cleared up by the time I got off work, and it dried out for a good hour or two before I ended up getting off work and heading out there. Other than a few puddles, it was hot enough that day to where it dried everything most of the way out. And fortunately, I came prepared and I had my leaf blower with me, so I was able to dry out the ramp before giving it a shot. And I was actually pretty mind blown of how this water streaked out in that pattern when I was blowing it with air. That itself made it entertaining enough. But overall, this is a pretty chill park. Variety of different ramps there, lots of flat ground, a few different rails. And the biggest thing that I like about it is that there's a lot of different things that I can try as a beginner. So this might be one of my favorite parks right now. It's a little bit out of the way of the city, but it's close enough to my work to where I can drive out there and it's not too much of a headache. So the main thing that I was trying to do here again was to warm up and then try some rock and rolls. And when I was warming up, I actually realized that the coping on one portion of the ramp was coming up and it wasn't bolted in at all. So I ended up checking out the other ones and they ended up okay. So I just kind of stayed away from that section. And even though this was a smaller ramp, it was still more difficult than what I thought it was going to be. Like I said earlier, I've gotten the rock and roll before, but on a much smaller ramp, and I haven't got it on a mini ramp. So I think one of the guys saw that I was getting a little frustrated, so he told me I might be better off trying this ramp over here in the corner, and that was actually a pretty good call. And then those guys actually gave me a couple pointers to just kind of look at it like a kick turn. And then once they said that, I was kind of like, okay, that makes sense. It just kind of clicked after that. So that was a pretty big win that day. So shout out to those guys for the tips. And everybody else that ended up showing up was just as cool. It just really had that small skate park, good community vibe to it. So I ended up staying up there for a little bit, just recording and hanging out with those guys. It's always a good change of pace just to kind of chill out and talk to new people. And I think that pretty much wraps up today's video. As always, I appreciate y'all watching. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment. All of that helps the algorithm push my videos to new people. And stay tuned because in my next video, I have a brand new park that I've never been to before out in Virginia Beach area. I ended up finding a secret skate spot here in Richmond. And unfortunately, I ended up revealing a pretty big setback on my skateboarding progression, which I'm actually kind of bummed to share with you guys. But I think that's all that I have for today, so I will see you all next time.